Check out the new album from artist Mary Bue, The World Is Your Lover, available on vinyl and CD. For more information, go to marybue.com to get your copy of The World Is Your Lover and to join her Kickstarter and Patreon. The World Is Your Lover by Mary Bue, available August 21st on CD and vinyl. All right, thanks for tuning in to The Prize. My name is Danny Sigelman. This is my podcast, and this was supposed to be kind of a fun-loving, I'm isolated, quarantine type of episode about our lives here in Minneapolis and how they've been the last couple months. On the podcast today, I have a very talented singer-songwriter, yogi, meditation guru, world traveler, troubadour. Mary Bue is here. We recorded this a couple weeks ago. And that's where our head was at, kind of reconnecting after she'd been traveling in India and Nepal. A bit about her music and the transformation she's gone through in her personal life. A new record she has coming out called The World Is Your Lover. In hindsight of last week's event here on Memorial Day, and the horrible, horrible murder of George Floyd, Big George. Honestly, I can't say I knew George personally, but he was definitely one of those people I would see around. The face was so familiar to me and cut so close to my heart as another horrible incident in what is just ultimately a bigger virus in this country and has been for so long, and that is racism. Aspect and issue of police brutality. The list never seems to end. We've been saying his name all week here in Minneapolis, George Floyd. A big part of this as well is dealing with my own privilege as a white male. Other than trying to uplift my brothers and sisters around me and make my connections to the community as much as I can and the culture that I know and love, ultimately I can recognize it's just not enough. And with the past week, finding my role as really just a listener, amplifier in whatever way I can for the continuing discrimination and outright violence against the black community here. It's really important to me. Having visited Mr. Floyd's memorial now that's located here in Minneapolis at 38th in Chicago where he was murdered, I've been able to kind of find a little bit of solace with the groups, the prayers, the togetherness. This is really coupled with this whole COVID situation and not being able to be a community that we love and are proud of here in Minneapolis, and then to have this kind of happen, it's doubly alarming and unsettling to find that this is how we're reconnecting. And if there's anything to be said about what can maybe come of this is organizing and recognizing the differences and the need for something more progressive in determining the future and the way we're going to treat each other. How we can overcome something like this now, but also make sure that the connected nature of what we have at this very moment can live on and prosper in itself. So as much as I was kind of struggling on what to say here in this intro, I just thought I'd kind of relay a fun story, and this is just the only thing I've been able to feel like I've been able to facilitate is recognizing kind of the small things. And I've kind of helped set up a little memorial outside of Conga Bistro here. I walk past the establishment where Big George was a doorman almost every day on the way to my job. So I've kind of helped with a little picture and kind of tending to it with some flowers, a little memorial for George over here in Northeast Minneapolis. To our duties as citizens for one another, and continue to kind of build on what makes Minneapolis so great, which is so important right now, and to be an example of what's transpired to really try to do better and turn this around for our future and ourselves and what really makes Minneapolis great. So that being said, it's been beacons like Mary Bue who have actually helped me get through some of this as well. I felt like even though this interview is a little out of date, considering everything that's happened, I still think it's really important what she does best and continues to do as an artist and a songwriter. One of the more positive people I've met here in the Twin Cities for many years, and she continues to be a great positive creative force for everybody around her. And this turned out to be a really fun conversation. So check out Mary Bue, her music, marybue.com, and this interview, and more about her music and craft, and also learning how to play the sitar, which you've heard some of already here on The Prize. Thanks for checking it out, and enjoy today's episode. Right. Mary, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Welcome to The Prize. Thanks for getting involved with this experiment I have going on here.
So happy to be here.
Actually, people kind of recommended that they wear their 3D glasses for this one. So we have much to catch up with, yes. Mary. First of all, welcome to The Prize. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for coming back to Minneapolis and blessing us with your presence.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Last time I saw you, it was winter time.
Yes.
I think it was right before New Year's or Christmas time that you were leaving for. How long were you gone for, and where did you go? Tell the folks where you've been spending your time.
Sure. For the month of January, I was in Rishikesh, India.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in Rishikesh for the month, and then I went to Varanasi, India, Benares. And then after that, I went to Bali, Indonesia for 2 months.
Which is a place I don't know much about. What was the inspiration, the impetus, and what did you do during all that time? Tell me a little bit about the contrast in those different parts of the world.
Holy, that's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions. All right, we'll take it slowly. So I know you're a yoga instructor and meditation and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So was that probably part of your travels?
Yeah, well, the inspiration to go to Bali, Indonesia. I actually, in 2003, lived in Rhode Island, working at a coffee shop, and I have this tattoo of a butterfly.
Oh, nice.
And one of the patrons who would buy coffee from me was like, you should go to Bali. I was like 23 years old. Mm-hmm. He's like, you got to go to Indonesia. Like, you would love it.
Just a couple years ago then, right?
Bless your heart. and then he was like, I live there part-time, and I'm like, you would love the music and the colors and the flowers and like everything about it. It's like this tropical paradise and the gamelan and all the culture and dancing. And it's like, cool, man. Yeah, that sounds awesome. And it was always in my mind, but it took me 15 years to go.
Wow, yeah.
So I went finally last year in 2019.
Okay.
So I kind of did a similar trip a year ago. I went to Bali and then India as well.
Okay.
Last year.
Same cities, same places?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I added on this time because I was there longer, but last year I went for a month and then this year for 3 months. So this year, the India impetus was I was going to record a music video.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to work with someone who I worked with before. He's done amazing videos, really fun to work with. Yeah. And I said, if you could have your ideal price of like what you would charge for a music video, like what would it be? And he told me, and I was like, I think I want to go spend that on a trip to India. Uh-huh. And so that's like, and then for the exact price he quoted me, I found this program about the yoga of sound.
See, you're very crafty.
Isn't that weird? And
it's cool.
I was like, no dissing him because he deserves that 100%. But I was like, music videos are like so important, but also like, how much are they doing for I don't know. I mean, what's the return?
Sure.
Well, but what's the return of going to India either? It's just, it really depends.
Or what's the return of staying home, though?
I know.
Well, now it means you get to live longer if you stay home. But so that was the impetus from back then. And when you first went, what was your culture shock, or what was your impression right away as far as having such a build up to wanting to go there?
Yeah.
And how did that roll out?
Well, with India, I had been feeling I've been teaching yoga since 2009, and I always felt like I need to be like ready to go to India. Like I have to go there. I need to like be prepared, and like I need to see the roots of like where this practice that I love came from. But I always felt like I need to. It's gonna blow my mind. I need to be ready. I don't know. And then when I went, I was like, I don't know if I should teach yoga anymore because I don't understand. Like I have such like deep respect, and I like don't feel like I know enough. So my cultural shock was really depressing, actually.
Oh.
But like I was like amazed and had an amazing time, but I also was like this internal like I don't know if I'm qualified. Like I'm not.
Sure.
I'm obviously like a white Minnesotan woman.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But being a foreigner, you kind of anticipated some resistance to or some unacceptance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I found people were very excited to talk to us and practice their English and bring us to their brothers, uncle's, grandfather's silk shop and bring us to the, the tapestry store and bring us to the, so it was always kind of like, I want to practice my English, but I also want to sell you something.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
your commodity.
Everyone here wants to sell something.
Yeah,
too,
totally. So the second time around, you're established, and you're obviously you were prepared this time a little more for these kind of idiosyncrasies.
Yeah. So I found this program to study the yoga of sound at this yoga school called Nada Yoga School. And Nada plus yoga, NADA, is like translates to the union through the flow of sound.
Wow.
So what's been happening personally in my like music exploration and like trying to make it as a musician for 20 freaking years or however long is like this total jaded, like really angry sort of like, where am I, what's the point, like what am I trying to do here, and like getting away from the real love of like creating stuff and like actually really loving music so much. And and so I was like, okay, I want to go study union through sound and like using sound and music and mantra, working with that as like a method for transformation. Like how can we use sound and music as like a tool to like actualize or like become more like transformed or healed or like,
Yeah, that's interesting to me. Music essentially is started out as a little bit more of a folk ethic. It wasn't until like it kind of really became commercialized as pop music. And it's interesting to me that people kind of have to go through so many kind of rituals in a typical music concert experience to sort of feel that looseness or freedom in their minds. Yeah. And you think about it, how weird is it to be a musician and have to like create something, then you gotta like hire some or put together packaging to promote it or to sell it to make it appealing to people, and then you hire people to get you interviews, and then you make a video and all that stuff, and then you go on tour and you got to set up the dates and interviews for all the shows and all the love me please everybody, and then hopefully they come to your show and there's all the infrastructure with putting on a show and getting there on time and sound checking, do all this stuff. And then you do the show and hopefully they're listening close enough that they have this kind of transcendental maybe experience or something above or meditative or enjoyable to them. So you're really just kind of honing in on that, cutting all of that out.
Yeah.
In more of a folk tradition, something that's probably been going on a lot longer than pop music has been around.
thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, tell me more about that. And what did you discover?
Well, I did discover. Well, something has been happening in my meditation. I use sound, and I've been like doing these mantras, like repetitive mantra. That's like, I feel like when you do something repetitive, maybe it's running or like, yeah, we'll just say running. Like you're doing this repetitive motion, and then you can kind of cut through like different parts of like the monkey mind or like the incessant thinking. So when using
Who was that? Was that you or me?
I think it was you.
Yeah. Okay.
So like the mantra I've been doing, it's a practice called japa mantra, and you repeat a specific mantra like 108 times around a garland, a mala.
Yeah, give me a couple bars.
Well, right now I'm doing Saraswati, who's the goddess of music and arts and learning and language. Okay, so there's something called a seed mantra or a bija, a syllable that like encompasses her entire symbology, and it's Aim. So Om Aim Saraswataye Namaha.
Keep going.
Om Aim Saraswataye Namaha. Om Aim Saraswataye Namaha. So I've been doing that 108 times in the morning.
I was just about to get into a trance there.
Right. But that's what happens.
Yeah, that's the purpose of it.
When you're holding, so like the reason that I'm for Saraswati, it's like I am singing her divine name because I want to be graced with like this discipline and really like intentional work with my creativity.
Yeah.
And so that yeah, so that I can fucking practice.
Yeah.
So that I have motivation, and so that when I'm speaking, it's not like sounding like an asshole, which I probably do. But
no, never. Mary Bue, are you kidding me? Oh my God.
But so what has been happening though, when I've been doing this for like 3.5 or 2.5 years every morning, and I feel like this like bodily, it's like a high. It's like a glow in my heart. It really does feel like this like butterfly feeling, like when you're really excited about something, but it starts to like come out like into my limbs, and it feels like this weird circulation, and I'm like, what is going on? And whenever I go into my practice, I can't like expect that or like hope for that, but I mean, I hope for it, but you can't like expect these things to happen, but whenever it does, it's like awesome.
Yeah.
So what happened in India is like we would do, this was like a basic teacher training program too. So it was a beginning teacher training program, but also with the sound element. But we would do tons of postures and tons of yoga practice, like the physical stuff that we do in the West. And then we would do purification techniques, like really intense breath work and like different things with do you know about neti pots?
No, I mean, it's like more of kind of like incense kind of stuff, or
neti pots are like you actually pour salt water.
You put your weed in it?
No. It's like a little vessel that you pour in and out your sinuses.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So
it's hot.
It's warm salt water.
Yeah.
And you pour this spout in your nose and like one sinus and out the other.
Wow.
And then you switch, or you pour it in your mouth and out your nose.
Yeah.
And like all these and then like breath work that would like pump your like intestines and stuff. And then like
heavy.
All of this to like make your body a more pure vessel for sound.
Wow. And is that something you can really like monitor? Like, do you really know like where you're at in that, or is it just kind of a constant thing? It's a maintenance thing. It's like a I mean, like, well, there must have been a turning point though for you, like where you realized you maybe crossed a little bit of a threshold for yourself.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, it's not a competition
no.
or anything, but it's yeah. What did you kind of discover at the point in time where you felt like it was kind of you were really absorbing it?
Yeah, it's tricky because it is like you can't like quantify. And then also like when you feel like, oh, I've like crossed the threshold, then it's like the ego is like, no, you haven't, and then it's like way back down.
I don't know what an ego is. I'm not familiar. So you're there the second time, and to rewind a little bit, right before you left, you had recorded an album last year, right?
Yes.
Was some of that record that you made a reflection of the time before you were there and across with maybe your anticipation with going again? How did that influence maybe your songs?
So actually the album was recorded before I went the first time.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Okay.
And I finished it the day before I left.
So the record's old hat by it.
It's an old hat. I'm so ready
but
for
it's
it
like
to be out.
no, but it's like your excursion into this. So that's interesting.
I've been to India 2 times since this record has been.
Yeah. So it's the pre-Indian era. Yeah.
But it's called The World Is Your Lover.
Yes.
And it is like about there's it's about like every experience being like kind of like a lover, like everything that comes to you, like you can love it and it's going to be really challenging, but it's all like a lesson, and like there's learning and there's romance and there's pain and there's suffering and like whatever, but maybe not that dramatic. Maybe like lovers.
No, but like daily life kind of stuff.
Yes. But like every day is an opportunity to learn.
But your every day is really different from that time.
Yeah.
And then when you listen to the songs now, even though they're new to most people, you've been playing them the last couple years, right?
Yep.
And how do you see yourself in those songs? Does it seem like somebody else?
A little bit, but in some of my songs are in some ways prophetic. Like they outlines like things that would happen later.
Yeah.
Which is maybe a common experience.
Like the whole neti pot thing.
Yeah, maybe.
It was like the neti pot jam. Totally. 2018, 2017, or 2000. So yeah, like anything specifically that you can think of? Like, I mean, were you pretty cautious about going there in the first place?
Yeah. Cautious. I was like, oh, geez. You always hear about, now we're in the middle of the COVID-19.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere.
No, but like, I was super scared of getting deli belly or bali belly and having like crazy, like having to have, emergency return.
I'm lucky to get St. Louis Park belly at this point.
I know, right?
So, right, yeah, the food stuff and the different cultural stuff I can relate to a bit. From that time, though, what were you going through? Was this right after you'd gotten separated or divorced at a certain point?
2016 was like my whole world like erupted. I was moving. So let's see. How did it work? April 2016, I recorded in Nashville a new album. February 2016, I signed a lease to open my yoga studio in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And I was going to move down. Like, this was all in the cards. I was married. We're moving. We agreed to do this. And then in April, we started renovating and, painting and putting in the new floor of the yoga studio. And then I took the band, we went to Nashville, we did a 4-song EP, The Majesty of Beasts. And then by May, I was like buying a house, getting a divorce, opening the yoga studio, and putting out the album.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to think about how maybe your life took on a different shape, having sort of your independence.
Yeah.
After that, and maybe what informed those songs. You're probably very different from what those songs reflect.
Yeah.
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 But people should still buy it.
Oh my God. Well, I don't know if I am. I don't know.
You don't think? Yeah, of course. You're always going to be Mary.
I think with the
oh, Mary.
Oh, stop.
Do you get a lot of Mary Tyler Moore references in your life? Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, maybe just from me. I haven't watched a new TV show since then, so.
Yeah, I was like, I worked with a producer for this album, so like I feel like the songs like have like a really fresh flavor to them. They're all like really different.
But it's exciting to have that out, I'm sure. Oh, there's a little argument going on outside the window here, I think. This guy has 2 green Nice Ride bikes. At what point do you feel like, I need 2 of those bikes at one time? Yeah, it's weird. Weirdness in the city. So fast forward to now, and this time you went. Did you perform your music there at all? Like what your typical like Mary Bue stuff, or did you kind of become a different person? I think that's what happened to me. Yeah.
When you went to China?
A little bit. I think I became a hyper-realized version of myself, and I think you kind of have that opportunity to like you bring out your best work yourself,
Yes.
but you didn't play that music at all over there.
No, there were no pianos
No pianos.
that I could find.
Are they not
in
allowed?
India. I
Okay.
think I found one on like the last couple of days I was there in like this really weird shopping mall in New Delhi. It's like a bright red grand piano in this mall.
Wow.
But like, yeah, it's the climate, and I'm not sure. You have Saraswati on your wall right there.
That's my girl.
Hell yeah. So I didn't play the piano. I led a retreat in Bali, and I did play a few songs, like
You did a
more,
little
like,
mini
chill.
concert. Yeah.
But it wasn't like a concert. It was like at the end of yoga, I would like play like
sure.
a certain thing that would fit, but I did learn the sitar.
The sitar.
But I haven't learned it at
And that's-
all.
that's
Like
what I
I've
was-
been playing for 4 months.
I was really excited about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me, so how did that happen? Did you just one day kind of think, you know what? I gotta, because I think it's really good. I think a lot of Western musicians, especially, don't learn enough about kind of the folk aspects of the Eastern culture.
Yeah.
That I think could just sound a little more interesting
Oh.
in music here.
100%.
Yeah. So how did that happen? Did you get a shot at somebody's sitar and you kind of took to it?
The yoga, so the training program I did, at not a yoga school, one of the things was we would get to choose to learn harmonium, sitar, or tabla.
Yeah.
And everyone would get to learn voice. So like we were learning, basic yoga teacher training, which like it was just kind of a repeat for me, but not a repeat because they're so different in India than the teacher programs here.
Yeah.
So, duh. And so the music element, we got to take 1 hour a day of each instrument that we chose in the group. And I was like, I have a harmonium because last year when I went, I bought a freaking harmonium.
That's like that piano thing.
Yeah,
right?
it's like an organ. It's like
Yeah.
an
Like
accordion, and
pump.
you like pump air through it. Yep.
Yeah. Do you have one?
I bought it last
Dang.
time. I know.
Yeah, that's
Like,
cool.
I'm an instrument hoarder.
Yeah,
Like
well,
any, like,
yeah, I can
unique
relate.
thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I need.
Do you
that.
play that often?
I do. Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
I do. Yeah, I use it sometimes like in yoga classes, and I brought it. I did a residency at Hook and Ladder, and we had a little harmonium jam. I know.
I knew I should have gone.
I know. Damn it.
A harmonium barbecue.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Okay.
We'll do it again
Yeah.
when we can gather.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, I really want to do harmonium, but like, I don't know. I was like I was watching my teacher, Bhuvan Chandra, play the sitar. He's like a phenomenal sitar player.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like the co-founder or one of the founders of the yoga school.
Dang.
And I was like, dude, I got to learn sitar.
Yeah.
So I did sitar and harmonium and voice. So in that 28 days, I had 3 hours of instrument lessons per day, as well as like, it was like from 7 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., like for 28 days. This
Wow.
like rigorous, like I've never been.
It's a really hard instrument, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I mean, in some ways, I had an advantage with playing piano as well as like I sort of play guitar. Like I've been playing guitar loosely since 8th grade, but on and off. But like, on the sitar, you have sympathetic strings, and then you're mostly playing one string, at least at the beginner phase. So it's really melodic. It's not chords. It's just melodic but a lot of it is improvising, which is sort of terrifying.
Yeah. Well, there's like the drone aspect too, and I guess that's where the sympathetic strings come in.
Yep.
Is it an instrument that can be taught even, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because basic technique.
Yeah, the language of it, kind of.
Yeah, like so, our scale. So India, it's sa re ga ma pa da ni sa.
Wow.
So I had to learn that, but with that language, you could say, okay, play the sa, play the ma, play the pa, play the ni, and that's how we learned.
Okay.
And then you play with a pick that's like it like sits on your finger. It like clips on, sort of. Like think of like a paper clip on your finger.
Yeah.
And you're like ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
And so you learn like you have to move all of the fingers along with your one finger. Yep. So you're making like kind of like a clapping.
Yeah.
like a one.
And so you're actually using all your fingers.
Yep, but you're just strumming with the one.
Right.
But you go up, down, and then you have to like, is it, going up? Is it going down? So you have to learn this technique with the right hand, and then the left hand is going all the way up the fretboard, and you can like move the frets.
Yeah, right. I know. And I see that. I see when people play the sitar, it seems like it takes forever for them to get going on it.
Yeah, you have to tune you have to tune a million things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a few concerts in Varanasi, and it was like they'd have like a freaking hour and a half between sets.
Yeah.
Like there would be like talking, and they'd be inviting people up on stage, and then it's like there's like a birthday party, and then like
you're like get to the tunes. Come on. Yeah. Well, I suppose they don't. Do they have parking meters? Maybe it's not really an issue,
Right. But then when we leave, they'd give us like a box of food to take. Like, it was just like really cool.
Man, I've never seen anybody do that here.
No.
It's so weird. I got this box of snacks in the mail today.
What?
I have no idea where they came from.
Yeah,
we'll have to take a break and have some chips or something.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of a thing now. It's a COVID thing to maybe kind of provide people with sustenance and varying.
Nice.
So yeah, I just got this in the mail before you got here, and I opened it up, and there's like a little can of It's like a weird. Everything's like airplane sized, like a little can of Pringles and I don't know, Jujubes or something.
I have one waiting for me.
You never know. I have no idea what mailing list got me these, but I'm going to join under my neighbor's name. Check out The Prize online. We are on Twitter and YouTube. The Prize, MPLS on Twitter. Also, Paper Sleeves, your host here, Danny Sigelman, on Twitter and Instagram. Check out the new album from artist Mary Bue, The World Is Your Lover. Available on CD and vinyl at marybue.com. Check out The Prize online. We are on Twitter and YouTube. The Prize, MPLS on Twitter. Also, Paper Sleeves, your host here, Danny Sigelman, on Twitter and Instagram. I used to make fanzines when I was a kid, a teenager, being into bands, and I guess I consider this podcast venture a little bit of the same purpose that those brought. In terms of, kind of just putting it together out there as a vignette in a creative piece in itself. So whenever you're finding this, and wherever, thanks for listening, and do enjoy the rest of my interview and performance with Mary Bue. Anyhow, so this music scene there is very different, of course, and the lifestyle is, of course, very different. How was it coming back? Because I know personally, it's really hard to have this like reverse culture shock.
Yeah.
And even weirder maybe now in the time of this kind of pandemic and stuff. How did that roll out for you?
Yeah, so I was in India, and then I went to Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
And
Tell me more about Indonesia.
Oh, it's like heaven.
I bet it's cool.
So India is like so intense, and it just like felt like a little more challenging as a woman, I guess. But Bali, it's like really felt very more comfortable, and it's like this tropical paradise island in the Ring of Fire. So there's like volcano and ocean.
Did you see any volcanoes erupting?
I did not see any erupting.
Yeah.
But yeah, 2 years ago they did.
Did you like explore them at all?
Yeah.
Wow.
Went to around, actually, yeah, this was like a really amazing Mount Batur, volcano Batur. There's a actually ancient cemetery there called Trunyan, and mostly people are cremated in Bali. And here there's a tree that only the villagers, when the villagers of this tiny little town on this mountain lake die, the villagers are buried there. There's 11 spots made out of these like little bamboo, like sort of caskets, but the bodies are just laid on the ground.
Yeah.
And the tree is said to have like such a powerful scent that you don't smell the decay. And this is like the only place in Bali that does this, probably only in the world. It's like this tree absorbs like, and helps, it's like this sacred tree that absorbs their energy.
Yeah.
So you take this like boat to this cemetery and you can like witness this like burial experience. So
But they're not, are they actually buried
No.
or they're above ground?
yeah, so not buried.
They
but
just kind of
like,
decompose. Wow.
and yeah, there's like, and then there's like a big shelf by the tree of like all these skulls, because after, when someone new dies in the village, they'll remove the oldest body and then put all their like bones and stuff like piled up. It was,
Whoa.
yeah, so I like,
And you saw these bodies
yeah,
and stuff?
I read about, I don't know how I even found it, but I'm like sort of obsessed with like interesting, like sort of morbid, like I write about death a lot.
Interesting death rituals?
Yeah.
What fascinates you about death?
Well, I mean, we're all hurtling in that direction, you know, we're just here
Especially
for a short
lately.
time. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like how precious and amazing life can be, and then like then we die, and it's just like this mystery of like what happens and how do people honor that, and like, so yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting.
So that's like my volcano, but like this volcanic lake was like, it was, if you like know Glacier Park in Oregon or like Montana, like that blue, the blue with like the volcano. And
Yeah.
just, like,
That's
so
from like
beautiful.
the ash in the lake?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you touch like lava at all? Not hot, like cold stuff. not the hot stuff. Do they like make jewelry out of it? What do they do with all the lava?
There is like, you can get malas with like lava stone and stuff like that.
Yeah, what's a mala? Like a necklace or a
Yeah, that's like
pendant
a
of
garland
sort?
that you meditate. It's kind of like, so Catholic rosaries were made, like sort of inspired by
Oh, sure.
these like 108 beads that you use for meditation.
Yeah. I'll have to bring some to the I don't even know. I kept thinking of jokes and none of them were funny. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to try to make a church joke, you know.
Go for it.
Well,
they tried to, you know.
But the art must be amazing. All the folk art, not just the music, but the visual art and statue. I see. That's what I would really get into.
Yeah, like Balinese, the craftsmanship in Bali is like the carvings of the wood. Like everything is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like floral, like the carvings of flowers on your door. Like it's like you walk into any random and it's like, oh my God, this is like, you know, like the fabrics and just like the plant decoration, you know, and they make like offerings every day to the nature spirits, and they're three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and like, so they have like, they make little baskets with flowers and moss and burning incense a couple times a day. So everywhere, like on the ATMs, on the roofs of, or like the hoods of cars, in front of shops and businesses, and like their own personal altar, like temple thing. And yeah, because like they're honoring all the nature spirits.
Aww.
Like the iron that's in an ATM machine is like part of nature.
Of course.
You know? So it's just like so cool to think
That
about.
is cool. Yeah, it's interesting. You must do pretty well over there at this point.
I fucking love it.
Yeah, you like it.
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself living there permanently?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, but how is that culture shock when you get back? Like, what do you notice right away?
Oh, I notice how much space we have in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And everything's really spread out. And everything's really like not as aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Like the strip malls and like the houses, and like it's just kind of like that's lacking here.
Don't say the podcast host.
No, of course no. You have like excellent decoration.
Thank you. Did you what's like the obviously with the current situation in the world, that kind of being attributed to kind of the exotic food choices of people in other countries, what's kind of the weirdest thing you tried?
Well, I'm vegan. So
You're vegan.
I'm like vegan paradise over there.
Yeah. So the weirdest thing you ate was like a leaf off a tree, or
actually durian fruit was the weirdest thing.
Durian fruit, yeah, that's the spiky stuff.
Was that in China?
I did. Yeah, I think I did try durian. Yeah,
it's kind of savory. Like the aftertaste was like so weird.
I think I tried it and it was in something, so it wasn't like I just tried a piece of that. It's like basically a fruit, right? But it's kind of stinky, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how did you eat it? How was it prepared? Part of a salad or something?
Well, we were driving around with so I hosted a retreat over there, and we were doing one of the excursions, going to this like giant banyan tree, and like we're like, oh, there's durian fruit, and my guests were like, oh, we never tried that. And the driver was like, like he pulls over.
Oh, you must have.
And he's like runs up to the stand because he's like from that village, and he was like, they haven't tried durian. Like, so he like gets this huge one. It's like the size of a beach ball.
Yeah.
And the guy like cuts it open with a machete and like hands us little chunks, and like my friends were like, oh
my God.
Into it. It was just me and this one other gal that were like, this is awesome.
Yeah. There's a ghost in my house. I forgot to tell you about.
They're mad because you're not vegan.
I did make a really good vegan chicken cacciatore the other night with my friend. Yeah, we've been cooking. So yeah, how has your COVID life been going? Because you said once you basically came back. When in March?
Yeah, end of March. I came back 2 weeks early.
2 weeks early?
Yeah.
Oh, because of all this? Really?
Yeah, the U.S. administration put out a level 4 travel advisory, and they were like, U.S. citizens have to come back by any means possible. That was in the text. And then if you don't, then you'll be, might have to stay indefinitely. Be prepared to stay indefinitely. And I was like, hell yeah.
All right. That could have been your saving grace. Was there an outbreak and you were in Bali before you left, right?
No, like the whole time I was there, they were like, there are no cases in Bali.
Wow.
Cases in Bali. And people were like, yeah, right. You know? But I mean, to this day, it seems like
they're still COVID free.
One, and it was like somebody did die. It's a British tourist coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not that it's like, it's all like the traveling.
Yeah.
How it spreads it around, but.
Totally.
But yeah, it seemed like a pretty good place to be, but I just felt like I actually did consider staying because. Yeah,
I had a friend that was in the UK and she had to like stay at a hotel in Denver for like a week or something. Yeah. So what happened when you came back? Did they?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Totally easy.
You didn't get probed, or you didn't have to report to a hospital or anything.
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
Because I was coming from, I think, Indonesia, but I did fly through. Flew through Japan. But. Yeah, it was totally fine. I had one temperature taken, just like a scan in front of my face.
Yeah.
But it was like big deal, like nothing. And then things were really quiet. Yeah. So I've just been, this is what I prefer. Like after traveling, just to have like solitude for a while. But usually that doesn't happen because I'm like, I gotta see everybody and I gotta go to shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And as a musician coming back and having this new album, I mean, how are you feeling about maybe not really getting to kind of have the release show and this kind of stuff?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. We pushed the release show to October 23rd.
Yeah.
And then I'm releasing the album in August. But yeah, it was supposed to be like a few weeks from now.
Yeah.
And yeah,
October sounds so far away.
I know, so far away.
You could be divorced again by then.
You're right.
Anyway, yeah, no, it's just everybody's kind of it's like life has kind of stopped in a lot of ways of being social, and you're pretty social and out there and into the going to play shows and see the music. And do you feel the urge to kind of play more what you were learning over there as opposed to what you're kind of known for here then?
Yeah, interesting. Like before I left, I was like, I feel like I'm not really drawn to playing as much as I was.
Yeah.
And that's just been like over time happening. But then I was like, because I was trying to like reconnect with why am I doing this in the first place? But then I just love my band so much. So anytime I can like be with all those people and have like that sort of like energy with everyone, it's like phenomenal. So I feel like some interesting things will come of this new instrument, which I was like, my teacher was like, just play scales for a year.
Yeah, just go up and down.
And now I'm like, well,
because it's all about getting those fingers used to the.
Yep.
And you what were you telling me about? You just designed a online. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I was hired through Yes Yoga Studio, which is right off 26, like right off 8th Street by Ice House. And they hired me to do the mantra and yoga of sound portion for their advanced yoga teacher training.
Yeah.
So like yoga teacher trainings, there's the 200 hour, which is like your like bachelor's degree, you could say, in yoga.
Yeah.
And then the 300 hour is like the master's. And then that you could go on for yoga therapy. That's just how I like organize what it's. So like this studio does like different modules on different elements like body inclusivity or trauma informed yoga. And then they had a whole weekend on yoga of sound. And so Lucia, the owner, hired me to do that before I left for my training because I was already like, I've already been exploring mantra and like different like yoga of sound stuff.
Yeah.
And so I came back and she invited me to do it 3 weeks early online because we can't meet in person. And so I designed like this e-course through Teachable, the Teachable platform. And she gave me permission to market it like as my own thing. Yeah. And not just like, so I taught it like through her program for her students, like specific for yoga teachers. Yeah. But then I'm gonna send it out into the world as like a more like how to incorporate sacred sound into your daily life, and like here's some music theory, here's some like teachings about the history of yoga of sound and mantra, and yeah. So
it seems like a kind of necessary thing now. Yeah. You kind of on the cusp of that being a bigger part of the culture, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Universities, colleges have been doing online classes forever. Like when I was getting my bachelor's degree, I took some online courses. Like I took one on dream analysis as a psychology major. And this teacher was in Poland, and the whole course was online about like analyzing your dreams. And I just remember feeling like, wow, that's like, when was that? 2001, 2002? Yeah. So like there have been online teaching platforms forever, but now it's like, okay, it's time to really get in here.
You think is there kind of like a benefit to doing yoga in a group though?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. Traditionally it was one-on-one.
Yeah.
Because then you're with the particular person and their injuries and their body and their goals and their neuroses, and you can like work with them like their whole person. Yeah. But and then in like it's kind of been in some ways bastardized into this like giant or like group class because that's America.
Yeah. Well,
but like being in the group, there's like a palpable energy.
Yeah, there's a positive aspect of that.
Absolutely, community. And
I'm really rusty. I haven't done yoga in a long time.
It's okay.
I don't know. Could you tell?
No
I seemed really limber, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Really loose.
Totally.
I don't know. But so this course you teach, is that like a one-time thing people experience, or is it something that'll kind of be out there for, how does that work? Is this something that's out there forever and people kind of come to it as they find it?
Yeah, I'm going to release it actually in June, like on like late June.
Before your record even.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be a 7-week course.
Yeah.
So it'll be like it's just like think of it as like a college credit or whatever. Like, so you like
buy say like 300 hours or something?
No. Well, no, this will be just like a weekend.
Okay.
Or like it'll be 7 weeks, maybe like a couple hours a week or whatever.
Sure.
So like you buy it and then it'll drip out like once a week. You'll get emails with all the download links, and like you'll go to the thing and like study the things for that week, and then it builds upon the next thing.
So for the 4 people that are listening to this podcast, where do they find it?
It'll be like everything on my website, just marybue.com.
Marybue.com. I think you got a really good name for people finding stuff. Is there any other Mary Bues in the world?
There are. I've seen some.
Yeah?
I've seen like some people have that handle.
Yeah.
But
you could do a little festival.
Right.
Bue Fest.
Right.
That's really cool. It's exciting because I don't totally understand it, but yet you're kind of on the frontier of this kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's becoming more like it is like an integral piece of like ancient yoga practice. It's like this like yoga of sound. Like the ancient yoga, like the nada, there's people that link sound with like the flow of sound with transformation and like developing as like a human. They like think that Om is like how the universe was born. So like the Big Bang is like the Om. It's like this low rumble or whatever. So like really when you're starting to look at this stuff, you have to think about like how is the earth even formed, and like how does the physics of sound affect this? And because sound vibration, like you're a musician, you're a DJ, like you're really in tune with sound. Like you know how certain sounds like make you feel certain ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some will get you really pumped. Some will like connect you with your emotions. Some will like feel like, okay, I can chill. Some is like, oh, this like, but it's all energy. And then like with certain vibration, we can like move our cells around.
Yeah.
Like it sounds really woo woo, I know, but
no,
I love it.
But I think it's interesting to think of it from the reverse. Like, what is it about a pop song that people have heard a billion times that makes them feel really comfortable?
Right.
Yeah. Do you think about that kind of stuff at all? I think about that stuff all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I work in a liquor store, and we were talking about the music that's played in there. It's almost the same songs every day.
Wow.
And a lot of them I really like.
Yep.
But there is a science to like what you hear in a grocery store or liquor store or whatever that facilitates some moment of familiarity that causes you to kind of feel more comfortable. Right. But it doesn't sound like that's the same idea over there. They're really kind of giving themselves to the sound in a different way because it's not about familiarity, or is it?
Yes and no.
It's a routine sound in their practice, huh?
Yeah, so it's really like fine-tuning the body in so many different like purification methods so that like this sound can like activate I guess deeper healing potential in the body. So like on a very like I guess basic fight or flight level, like so like our sympathetic nervous system, like fight or flight or freeze. And then when we connect with certain, like this is kind of our typical like, there's like a stress, and then we're like, gotta act or freeze up or whatever. But then certain music and certain sound can like activate the parasympathetic, which is like the calm, like more calming, and like, and then we can like from there like have more access to like I guess our intuition and like what is like our true like I guess what is our next true action. You know, it's like it like meditation like this, it's a different form of meditation, you know, like finding that pause between the impulse to do something and then like the action to actually do it, you know.
Wow. It's amazing because I've never I guess I know music is a part of meditative process, but to me my experience is like the visceral nature of sort of like an extreme experience with music.
Let's hear that.
And like we were talking about like before about kind of all the ropes you got to jump through to kind of get there to have that experience, like going to a big concert in the middle of a field somewhere and having to find out about it in the first place and all the promotional aspects of commercial that's so ingrained in us. By the time you get there, you're almost convinced that it's so great. You know,
Right.
and sometimes it might not actually be. There's like music I like to go see that I don't ever actually listen to on my own,
Totally.
and that's where I can maybe tap into what you're talking about, like like the insanity of like a really heavy, like technical, like they call it like technical metal. Are you familiar with the technical metal genre?
Not really, but
Yeah.
I can like.
Did they have that in Bali?
I think there are a lot of people really into metal in Bali, actually.
Yeah. So like this kind of up and down nature of the music that I don't completely. It helps if I don't totally understand it, because I'm able to kind of like experience it, and like the bobbing and the kind of like visceral nature. Like when you can actually physically feel sound.
Yes.
That must be kind of more what you're talking about.
Yes.
And I think that happens a lot in Western music still. But talk about that. When you're physically feeling a sound, like how do you create that in your practice?
Yeah, I think about like I used to be big raver. So when you're saying like finding the venue and like the whole experience.
Yeah, I noticed those glow sticks in your bag when you got here.
Yeah, right. But that bass, like that, I'd be like up there by the speaker and like feel the bass like right in your chest. So this is like a more subtle, experience of so like different levels of sound. There's a talk of the main level, the vicary. Might be from pronouncing it incorrectly, but like the vocal audible type. And then going to the medium type, that's more like whispering or like low, like quieter. So this is like with mantra or like chanting. Yes, yes, yes. So like loud and then whisper, and then internal, that it becomes more of like a synesthetic experience where like you're feeling the sound, but maybe like sensing other things, like sensing like a bodily feeling or like a color or maybe a smell or like some other sensory thing is activated. And then the final level is para, which is like above like the greatest. And that's like a full absorption. Like when, like if ever you're in the flow state, that's like a more like Western way of thinking of it. Like just like completely absorbed in the sound that like nothing else matters. And it's like a pure.
The flow state. I like that.
Yeah. Like athletes when they're running and it's like nothing else and they're just absorbed. And I had a few experiences. So do you know what a kirtan is?
No.
So a kirtan is like, so there are like 6 different yogic paths for like self actualization or like full like realization, like heading in that direction. And like one of the paths is called bhakti yoga, and it's like the yoga of the heart and yoga of devotion, and like really you're singing like divine names. And but like, you know, it could be nature, like mostly it's like divine names of God or whatever God is to that person, whatever. So kirtans are like people in a group, and it's like call and response. Like there's like the leaders, and they're like saying this phrase, and then the audience says it back in response. And there's like tabla and harmonium and like maybe sitar, and like everyone has like a shaker and like big groups of people. And they became really popular in the West here with like Krishna Das and Jayutal. And like so in the first like week of this school, my teachers led this kirtan, and like there were only like 9 students because it was January and it was freezing.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like they don't
it gets cold over there?
Oh yeah, it was like 40 degrees and like no heat.
Yeah.
And I like did not bring any Minnesota clothes.
Yeah.
I was like freezing. But anyway, they did this kirtan, and they were singing to Shiva. Shiva's like the god of destruction and transformation, and pretty rad guy, cosmic dancer guy. And I just started like ecstatically laughing, like ridiculous, insane person.
Wow.
Like I could not control it. I was like, it was like, I was like shaking, and like, I felt like, what in the hell is going on? And I like could not stop. And this happened like a few times. This happened in like a singing course that we were doing.
Yeah.
And like the teacher, Shivananda, he was like trying to have us sing scales, but it was like way too high in my range.
Wow.
And it was like this ecstatic, like ridiculous, like embarrassing. Like I could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
But it was like, it felt so amazing.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
just like let loose in that way. And
Totally.
like, something was like unleashed. It was like unlocked this like weird ecstasy, and like these things happen, and like I don't want to attribute any sort of like divine like ooh like, you know.
Yeah, why not?
But it was like very
Next level
of just like breaking through like this physical, like this, you know, we have this protective shield of like, I am this, and I'm just gonna, you know, be this, show up to my class, and I'm gonna perform in this way, and I'm, you know, I try to like sort of like fit into this mold, and then all of a sudden I like can't even control this. I'm like, they don't even allow alcohol there. There's like, you know, it's vegetarian, like there's so pure, and I'm just like completely out of control laughing. I know.
Well, that sounds like a really positive experience, though.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was this most recent visit, or was that the first? Okay.
January.
Yeah. So do you have any plans of returning to?
I'm going to be returning to Bali every year to lead my retreat there. And that's like a creativity retreat, creativity and yoga. And I plan to go back to Rishikesh and study with my teacher, Sitar, in October of next year, 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
To study sitar exclusive. Is there any places in the Twin Cities you can take sitar lessons?
I researched, do you know about Ragamala? Dance
yes.
Yeah. So one of their live musicians offers sitar. He teaches at McAllister, and I haven't reached out to him yet, but I'm going to.
Sure.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah, because like just doing it on my own, it's like just fucking off.
It's hard, but it's, you know what? I feel like anything sounds cool on the sitar. You know,
it's amazing.
Like I was listening to the song "Come and Get Your Love." You know that song?
Yeah.
That's got some wicked sitar on it. You can't tell me the guy playing that had any idea what he knew what he's doing. You know,
I love it.
And a lot of pop music, to me, no matter what it is, if it's got sitar in it, I'm totally down. So
for sure.
Well, I'm excited to hear you play some sitar. So you brought it along here, and was it kind of a hassle to bring it back from there? It must have been. Did you have to buy a seat for it or anything?
No, like my sitar. It wasn't the original one I wanted, but then I saw it and I fell in love with it. And it is a double gourd. So like the base, it's gourds.
Yeah,
like
tell me, break down the sitar for us.
So yeah, there's like, it's made out of a pumpkin.
Yeah.
And then, there's gorgeous wood. And then all these like sometimes really ornate carvings.
Yeah.
And then a big neck. And then sometimes there's another pumpkin that's screwed in on the top.
Right.
And
does that resonate? Is that like to make it resonate?
Yeah. More resonation. And bridges, and then there are like a few beads at the end and at the top for fine tuning the strings.
Yeah.
So like you can tune only so much with like the tuning peg, and then like there's like these like beads that you can move up and down on the strings.
Yeah.
One is like carved into a swan shape.
Aw.
I know.
Yeah, is that pretty standard? Are there symbols along the design of each sitar?
Yeah, I feel like they're very like Saraswati, because her her vahana or vehicle is a swan. Like each deity has like their own animal.
Yeah.
Or a few animals, but yeah.
What's yours?
Butterfly.
Oh yeah, butterfly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like manatees too.
And
the heron.
And heron, manatees, and butterflies. Perfect. As far as what, like my spirit animal?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm definitely a cat person. I don't know if you noticed that. You know, the first movie I saw was ever in a movie theater was called Pete's Dragon. Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
You know that one? I think they were going to make a remake of that.
I hope so.
I don't know if that ever happened. But I love dragons, too. And I think that was part of my appeal in China, is like dragons and Asian art in general. I like the idea of something that probably doesn't actually exist in real life.
Yeah.
but is kind of reptilian and seems like it could be real. I think we attribute a lot of our personalities in the animals that. So maybe it's entirely possible having dragons as my spirit animal that I don't actually exist.
Totally.
Who have you been talking to all this time? Well, Mary, thanks so much for coming. This has been really awesome. And it's awesome that you came here, and I'm so glad to have you back in town.
Thank you so much.
I think the Twin Cities is better off with Mary Bue around, but I totally get it if you end up living in Bali permanently. I think you're the next deity. Are there like new deities every year? Do they do that? Is that a thing?
No.
No?
Oh my god.
So what's the criteria? I don't know.
I'll have to leave my body.
Yeah. All right. Well, it might be some time then. All right. Thank you, Mary. Looking forward to all that's coming and the new record again. You want to give let's give your little all your tips, all your social medias.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So in the ethereal universe that we all exist in now, how can one find what you're up to?
Well, I'm very active on social media. The main hub is my website, marybue.com, I would say. But I'm really active on Instagram. I love Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of stories and all that thing.
Yeah.
Facebook is probably the next one. And then Twitter. I used to love Twitter, but I've kind of like fallen off.
You don't like Twitter?
I do like Twitter, but I haven't been doing as much with it. But maybe it's time.
Just narrow it down to what I do on Twitter, and then you're good. Didn't you do an Instagram live concert or something?
Yeah, yep, I did one. So I'm a Mizuno running ambassador.
Really?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So Mizuno Running Company, or running, like the brand, they picked me as an artist ambassador because like I was always posting about running and like how running fuels creativity, and so I did a Instagram live through Mizuno's page.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and they like sponsor, like I'm sponsored by them, so they send me this year awesome shoes and clothes and stuff.
For real, you got to hook a brother up.
I'll see what I can do.
I'm trying to start running. You think we can get a couple bucks for this show then?
Oh my god, I'll see
what happens.
Mizuno's the best.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, congratulations for that as well. Thank you again, and thank you for listening. See, that was awesome. Thank you so much to Mary Bue for coming by a few weeks ago and doing that fantastic interview with us. You can find all of her information on her website, marybue.com. That's B-U-E. She's also on Twitter, Mary Bue Music, and Facebook, all the places to find out what she's up to and more about her music and her new record coming out called The World Is Your Lover. It sure is. And I just want you all to take care of each other. Keep moving, keep learning, and we can stay connected like this and find new things to find inspiration from and connect. Makes me feel really positive and gives me encouragement. Thanks for listening. See you next time on The Prize. Check out the new album from artist Mary Bue, The World Is Your Lover, available on vinyl and CD. For more information, go to marybue.com to get your copy of The World Is Your Lover and to join her Kickstarter and Patreon. The World Is Your Lover by Mary Bue, available August 21st on CD and vinyl.